now we would like to bridge a bit from the consuming side, so from those that actually consume the models to those that have models that they want to offer to you. And we have kind of a quick speed dating of model vendors. So I would like to ask all the model vendors on stage quickly. So we have Lauren Mudd from ARA. We have Harry Vardigans from Fathom. We have Chris Ewing from IF. We have Josh Macabuag from Renewry and William Forde from Corelogic. All of them have roughly 5 minutes time to actually pitch what their offering would be. We do that quite intensive, really 5 minutes each. At the end, we have some 50 minutes time then to ask general questions for them. So here in the room, you can ask questions or then as well via Slido. So then I would say then let's start off. Then Lauren, the floor is yours and the thing is over here.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Fiat. As you said, I'm Lauren Mudd. I'm with Applied Research Associates. I've also got my colleague, Jeff Shadone, here with me today. So I wanted to start just by giving a couple of tidbits on ARA as a company for those that might not be familiar, and then kind of highlight some of the upcoming model updates that we have planned in the near future here. We don't have, my slides are not up yet. I need to. There we go. Okay. So first, who we are. Unlike a lot of the model vendors here today, we're not only a CAT modeling firm. So we're predominantly a research and engineering company. We have a bit over 2,000 employees now, focused on problems of safety and security, mostly in the US. For the last 25 or 30 years or so, we've provided an independent view of hurricane risk. And this is, applications beyond just property insurance. So structural engineers, emergency planners, event response, things like that. In all of our work, especially in model development, we start by looking at the physical reasons and basis for things. And then we move on for the insurance purposes using claims data to validate those models. So instead of starting from the claims and trying to work our way back, we really are concerned with why things are happening within the model. Okay, so ARA's model provides the basis for structural design in the US. So this is, buildings, high rises. We do a lot of offshore wind, solar farm design. So we're not, again, just doing CAT modeling. Our vulnerability models use some of the data that was used to improve design codes for low-rise buildings in the US. So since our model is predominantly physically based, built kind of from the ground up, we're able to look at some of the key drivers of risk and why it's happening, and not just looking at the claims data alone, which may not be able to answer those questions. Okay, so on to a couple of the model updates. So one that we're particularly interested in is a collaboration that we have with JBA Risk Management, and there's a couple folks here with us today from their firm. We're coupling our rainfall footprints. JBA is performing catchment response to turn that into a flood level, and then combining that with flood from non-hurricane events. So in the end, we're getting a unified view of flood across various sources, which then is correlated back with the hurricane wind risk for the US. So moving a little bit away from characterizing these hazards in silos and really capturing a joint characterization of them. Okay, this slide provides a bit of output from the second model update I wanted to highlight, including some climate effects on the hurricane wind risk hazard. So this slide in particular is showing landfall frequencies by a few different regions that are highlighted there on the map. And we've got, Cat 5s in Florida are highlighted there, and the bars are going from the historical average to 2021 to 2050 there, from left to right. And, looking at the 2050, the Cat 5s are more than doubling. It's a little alarming, but when you move into lost space, it's a bit different picture because Cat 5s don't make up quite as large of a percentage of the events, but 2050 is also a little bit further out for insurance purposes. But even looking at 2021, You can see the event rates for those extreme events are going up kind of across all regions. And this is really one of the points we want to drive, is that climate change is already happening. It's already something, you know, your firm should be thinking about and preparing for. And I do just want to point out that we have approved a current view of risk with the Florida Hurricane Commission just as a couple months ago now. Okay, and just a little bit on the methodology here before I run out of time. The advantage here, I think, over some of the other analysis that's being done out there is that our model is able to leverage inputs directly from global circulation models. So we're not doing any sort of trend analysis or spatial analysis or extracting tracks directly from these models. We're using this environmental data and seeding our CAT model that has physical dependencies baked into that to see how it might affect the hurricane risk into the future. I'm starting to run out of time here, but the last note, we just want to note that the model is transparent and easy to use. We've published pretty extensively in the open literature and meteorological and engineering journals. And then in collaboration with OASIS, ODS, NASDAQ, and soon to be RMS, and our unique approach to the hurricane hazard, you know, we think it's a pretty good alternative, bespoke view of the hurricane risk. So if you're interested in more details, find us after. We'd be happy to set up a free trial on the NASDAQ platform for you. Thank you.
Then Harry, just move on with your.
Magic. A little bit taller. So yeah, my name's Harry Vardigans. I'm the business development manager at Fathom. So I didn't want to stand here and give you all an excuse to check your emails and just give you a sales pitch. So what I thought I'd do is just go through a little bit of the, I guess, history of Fathom over the past 2 years, where we've recently experienced quite significant growth. And I guess also a fact that a lot of people don't know, Fathom are actually 10 years old, I think, in November this year. So yeah, since then we have grown a decent amount, I think, in the last 2 years. But to cover our values first, what we really have is, I guess, our 4 main values. So we are open and transparent. And when we say open and transparent, I think it's said around the market quite a lot, oh, we want people to be transparent, or we are transparent. We really try and do it by practice. We try to publicly peer review everything. We make our methodologies available online, and you can access that via our website. Or you can just come and ask us. We'll explain it to you if you don't want to read through an academic journal, which quite a few people, at least from my background, don't want to do that. We also aim to make a difference. So we're not just trying to contribute another model or another set of hazard maps to the market. We're actually trying to improve on that. And that is all backed up by the research we are doing. So all the research we do every year looks into how can we advance what the market currently has access for to what we can now produce and give you next year or the year after that. Science is in our DNA, and I've got a slide just to highlight that a little bit more later on, I think the next slide. But that's just to show we're not just a marketing or sales outfit. We're actually heavily focused on that scientific research side. And so I guess the slide off this will show you, will highlight that fact. This is just to show the things we've published over the past 2 years. So in 2022, we had 10 publications. Again, this year we're on track to publish 9 different publications. Ollie, who is here, our Chief Research Officer, can talk a little bit more about that later on. And we've been cited, over 79,000 times. And that's really, I guess, a good reflection on the work that we're doing in the research field of flood. And that is done because we have a massive team of developers, of scientists who go towards building these different products and doing that combined research together. So this is a graph showing you our growth over the past 2 years. See, we had about 7 people at the beginning of 2020. That significantly grew in 2022 up to just over 25. And again, further developing this year. So as you can see, we are heavily weighted on that development side, everyone focusing on that single peril of flood and providing you the best view of risk. This year, we are growing the sales outfit and the marketing outfit a little bit more, and how do we actually take that academic, I guess, journals and the research that we've done, how do we translate that to people, maybe the underwriters who are less technical than the people in this room, who won't understand, who won't want to read through that academic journal? How do we communicate that as a commercial team to our customers? And so the things that we need to communicate, I guess, is our products. So we have two main products, I would say. So our global flood maps and our catastrophe models. The way we build our catastrophe models is starting by the base risk, modeling the physical hazard, and then creating your event set, overlaying the vulnerabilities as well, all in Oasis. And we create the catastrophe models. We also have two sub-products. So risk scores, again, that's a nice product that we have used by hiring people from industry. So people like Matthew Jones, our Chief Product Officer, Malcolm Haylock, who is also here today, our Head of CAT Models, allowing us to, I guess, understand what the market wants, what the market needs and what it wants to consume. So, for example, a hazard map, you take your 1 in 100 year return period, you see, I don't know, half a meter of depth or a meter's worth of depth. What does that actually mean to an underwriter? They'll look at that and be like, I'm not sure. You translate that into a risk score, give them a scale from 0 to 100. On that scale, 100 being most risky, 0 being no risk. Where on that line does it sit? Now suddenly the underwriter can understand that data, understand the figure that they're looking at, and be able to write their business in a meaningful way. And then the global terrain data. And so this relates back to the research we do, and is a key, I guess, differentiator of Fathom, in that we took the Copernicus DEM, and we derived out of that, basically removed the buildings, the trees, to create it useful for flood modeling, and created this terrain data set that now underpins everything we do in our hazard maps, and will ultimately underpin the catastrophe models as well. We sell that as a product. It turns out that there are quite a few people out there that want to use that. So how do we communicate these products? So these are things that you would see on our website. You can access them. I can send them to you if you don't want to troll through our website and look for them. The Fathom product stack is the most recent thing. So you can go on our website. It will split into detail how the methodologies we've used, the underlying data sets we've used in that as well. So I've just realized I've got 5 seconds, so I'm rushing a little bit. We also have our extensive methodology documents, which again, we'll send to you in any a license or evaluation of our data, and then metadata layers as well. So that explains the underlying data sets that underpin what we have, again, translate to the product stack. But please come and talk to anyone from Fathom here later on. And sorry for running over time, Vicky.
Nice to move after being a mannequin there for 10 minutes. So yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm heading up the client management function within impact forecasting. So here to tell you a little bit about what we do. And I designed this one, you can probably tell, but what we do, develop peak peril models, custom models for insurers. We've got a series of data for underwriting, number of climate change solutions, and also event response. So over the next 4 minutes and 35 seconds, I'll tell you about those. So the team, 140, getting a bit higher than that now, of model developers. So from seismologists to climatologists and meteorologists, hydraulic engineers, and all sorts of people in between. And developing the models, working with research organizations, universities, academics as well, partnering with third parties as well to develop peak peril models. We cover 90 countries, 135 models, those different perils I mentioned. And we also have our catastrophe insight data. So that's looking back to probably 1970 for the majority of the world, but even further back, and looking at economic and insured losses across the world. How we're supporting the open cat modeling community. So that's using the Oasis engine within Elements, which is our cat modeling software, and also working with the Oasis team, Core Oasis, also NASDAQ. We use standardized hazard and vulnerability model formats based on Oasis, so allowing that standardization, interoperability with different platforms. We are using the open exposure data schema for the modifiers within our models, and we're also sharing data. So our Aon colleagues, Oriel's here talking later on, sharing OED exposure as part of that placement process. And also that community involvement. So we're involved in the OSIS working groups. We're here for events like this as well. Hopefully you're concerned about peak peril catastrophe risk, and then we can help you. So we've got models for US hurricane, just had that certified by the Florida Loss Commission. We have US earthquake model based on the latest USGS seismic hazard, a European windstorm model covering 22 countries. So we just expanded this year, covering Iberian Peninsula, so Spain and Portugal. And we have a Japan typhoon model covering wind, surge, and flood, so looking at secondary perils as well as the primary. And also an earthquake model that's used by the large mutual insurers in Japan. So all those models are available on the Elements platform. The next thing we do, producing high resolution underwriting data. So that could be for flood, SCS, quake, wind, anything you want. Example here for a flood hazard map there. And then we're able to integrate those into different people's systems as well, whether that's through an impact forecasting platform or also through maybe your own platform if you want to consume that in your own tools. Hope that leads to better decisions for risk selection and pricing strategies as well. This is a lot of text for 30 seconds, but basically what we're saying with climate change is we're embedding new scientific research, so partnerships with Columbia University, with Karlsruhe for Eurowind and severe convective storm, bringing that kind of regional local insight. So we tend to focus on what matters in the region, maybe from a regulatory point of view, and maybe from what clients are asking us, and develop the models focused for that market. Embedding all that science and research, future climate scenarios into the models, and then, yeah, the variety of use cases. So in some areas, we're actually physically altering events. So we might have many different model versions. In others, we may be adjusting frequencies. So that depends on the region. Yeah, the last point, just to say, so from the Catastrophe Insight side, we have these CAT reports that go out every week, every month, every year. So hopefully you've all subscribed to those. The middle part here, looking at loss forecasting. So we have a service called Automated Event Response, and that provides real-time loss updates for US hurricane, European wind, and Japan typhoon. And also we have some post-event analysis there. And what we've just done after Hurricane Idalia is to release the footprints of that event as well. So we've modeled the footprints and released those. And that's the fourth column on that slide. You can freely download that, so anyone can download that data and run that in your own software. We've also put that onto the NASDAQ platform, and that's available for everybody, like literally everyone. So you can go on and run that, as long as James agrees. I'm sure James agrees. So that's, yeah, where we are really. So peak peril model development, focusing a lot on that. We are custom model development for insurers based on claims data. Event response is there, obviously, climate change solutions, and the data for underwriting. Was a little bit too quick. Also, we have a range of socks that you can get from the stand afterwards, but you're more than welcome to, yeah, come and see us. Also, I should mention, I've got 20 seconds. Obviously, Adam's here, who heads up the whole team. We've got Petter, who heads our flood model development here. Siobhan, who's really involved in bringing the models into OASIS, and also Ladislav on climate change, and Nihal, who heads up our Elements software development team. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Josh Macabuag. I am co-founder and chief product officer of Renew Risk, and we provide risk analytics for renewable energy, and we're starting with catastrophe models for offshore wind farms. It'll be the first time you're probably hearing of us, as we launched officially yesterday. I've got quite a lot to get through, so forgive the pace of the slides, and of course, please chat to me throughout the day for anything I have to skirt over. So the problem is that over the next 2 to 5 years, we're experiencing exponential growth in exposure for offshore renewable energy in regions of earthquake and hurricane risk for the first time. That means that insurers, banks, and wind farm developers have to quantify their risks for these multi-billion-dollar assets. The solution is that for the last 2 years, we have been quietly building our first set of models, starting with our US hurricane model, which is currently with clients as we speak. And our Taiwan and Japan earthquake and hurricane models are in development and will be available shortly. Now, as everybody in the room knows, then CAT models are critical for pricing capacity, capital, and all kinds of other business functions. Yet, for the regions of peak exposure growth in offshore exposure, there are no currently commercially available CAT models. I'm talking about the US, the Americas, and Asia. The best that carriers can do at the moment is to model some industrial asset at the nearest point onshore. But for our multi-billion-dollar assets up to 100 kilometers offshore, this is a big and serious gap, and one that we address by building the world's first commercially available CAT models built and designed specifically for offshore wind farms, starting in US, Taiwan, and Japan. Our industry exposure database captures each and every individual turbine, cable, and substation, both in existence today and scheduled to be built in the coming years. For hazard, then consider that even if existing onshore models were to, at some point in the future, extend their domains out to sea, they would still not be capturing critical offshore conditions in the existing methodologies. To pick one example, then we've gone beyond, for our hurricane model, then we've gone beyond the traditional wind-only approach to model the actions of the wind and the sea, together with the leaders in this field, the Danish Hydraulic Institute. All of this is independently validated, not at landfall, but at these offshore locations by external validation company, more than just validation, but Maximum Information, or Tom Philpin team, if you're familiar. Oh, and I forgot to play the video. So the video is one event from our wind set, and then corresponding wave analysis done by DHI. Now, the issue on vulnerability is, as you can guess, then we have new, bigger assets being built in earthquake and hurricane regions for the first time, meaning there are no claims. So we have to adopt engineering approaches to analyze the full distribution of our assets in our industry exposure database against the full distribution of earthquakes and hurricanes in our event set. And that allows us to define our unique vulnerability methodologies. How do we ensure the rigor in those engineering methodologies? Well, hold that thought. All of this is available to provide standard output metrics in the Oasis, within the Oasis system, available on NASDAQ, or also available via our own Amazon Web Service servers if for some reason you're not on NASDAQ. Those losses are validated against independent scenario, wind farm-wide engineering scenario analyses, kind of PML studies, and also discussed and picked apart at length with our early clients. How do we do all this? Well, the team provides a range of expertise across the field. To pick two examples, my background is that I'm a chartered structural engineer with a PhD in vulnerability modeling, a background in NatCat validation and model building for governments via the World Bank. Another example is that our engineering methodologies are made possible by our co-founder, Professor Subi Bhattacharya, who has written two seminal books on offshore wind design. Our early clients, we've been working with McGill & Partners for the past 18 months. We've just closed a funding round of over $1 million. We're backed by InsurTech Gateway and One Planet Capital. And then I'd just like to end here by saying a huge thank you to everybody here for your time, and especially to Dickie, Ben, Joanna, Matt, and all of the Oasis team for all of your quiet support over the last 2 years on this journey. So as I say, we launched yesterday. If you have any questions, then please get in touch. We are Renew Risk. Thank you.
Okay, hi, I'm William Forde. I'm here from Corelogic. I'm going to have a couple of slides about Corelogic, and then I'll talk a little bit about our models on the Oasis platform and how we're deploying those. So first of all, what does Corelogic do? Well, we provide property insights right across spectrum of the industry. So we start out, we think of people, helping people find property and then to buy it. So helping lenders understand what a particular asset might be facing in terms of perils when they're making a lending decision as well. And then we move into protect, which is where we sit, which is from an insurance perspective, how do we make sure those properties are protected adequately, and then right through to claims and restoration. And the reason that's important to us from a modelling perspective is that this brings us a huge amount of data that we can bring to bear on making better models and bringing better insights to the risk. So what do we actually provide in the way of that? Well, first of all, we provide risk selection tools, so hazard assessment down to the building structure level. So that's, what might happen. Then if it does happen, what's it going to cost me next year? So those are the catastrophe models that we hold, and I'll talk a bit more about those in a moment. And then we also have weather tools, so forensic risk tools. So that looks at events as they're happening, and will be able to give you an indication of the impact of that event. So hailstorm in the US, for example, we can provide real-time information about that, and that is used, also the accuracy means it's able to be used as a parametric trigger. So a couple of organisations using that, including Swiss Re. There is a written test on this slide before you get to lunch. We have a complete suite of global models, which we cover which are underpinned by a team of more than 120 PhDs, masters scientists working on these. We're covering the peak 5 perils. We're just about to release our new European windstorm model this year. And we're also working on the climate side of things as well. So you probably haven't heard much from us on that to date. We've largely been focused on the lenders in the US who've taken up these solutions pretty enthusiastically. So we've learned a lot from them and what they need, because their lending can get to assets for 25 years. So we're now bringing that expertise into helping the insurance industry understand the impact of climate change. So which models do we have on the loss modelling platform framework? So at present, we have the Japan quake and the US earthquake model on the platform, and they are being used both across insurance and the reinsurance segments of the industry. We use the complex wrapper API to deliver our models, and the benefits of doing this are that we can maintain a common code base. So for hazard and vulnerability functions, we use the same code for our platform, which is RQE, and also for the Oasis platform. It's not until you get to beyond ground up that then things start to change, and the financial model is then driven either by RQE, our platform, or by Oasis. The delivery for that, for Oasis, is either on-premise through NASDAQ or through Exceedance, who will do modelling on demand through that. Next steps in terms of the models that we're going to be approaching. So wildfire, there's been quite a lot of interest in that. I would love to hear from you if you do have an interest. We're looking to get some support on that, because it does take quite a lot of investment to move models across. But we are enthusiastic to do that, and we hope that this approach, that we can deliver you ground up results at the moment before we actually move it across, goes some way to helping you understand what that model looks like and validate that. So we are able to do evaluations or start evaluations at the moment. So if you'd like to know more about that, come and talk to me. Or alternatively, if there are other models which you think would be beneficial and we can get support for those, come and talk to us and we'll see what we can do about moving those over. That's me. Thank you.